morning. You've tuned into Market Fatafat right here on ET Now, the show where we get you a wrap of all the stocks and the movers and shakers that you need to watch out for in under 30 minutes. We have a team of research analysts, and also on the technicals to give us a flavor, we have Gaurav Bissa, who's going to be joining us on the show over the Gaurav Ratnaparki, pardon me, of Sher Khan, who will be joining us on the show. Good morning to all of you. Thanks so much for joining in. And let's kickstart the show with the very first stock that we have on our radar. Undoubtedly, perennial newsmaker Yes Bank is the stock that we are going to be focusing on. An ET report has suggested that the promoter firms have routed debt money as equity into private financial companies. That seems to be quite a serious allegation. The bank will have lots to answer. Additionally, we also have UBS, which has a sell call on the stock with a target at 150 rupees, as they say that while the stock price has corrected quite a bit, making it one of the cheaper banks, the fact is that they have some NPL recognitions which are yet to take place, and that is something that's thrown the stock into doldrums. It's another 5.8% of a downtick that's come in for the stock price today in trade. But let's also talk about the next stock then that we have on our radar, and that's TCS. Kunal, IT stocks certainly have been bouncing the last couple of days. Today as well, it's another 2.5% higher.
Absolutely, it's a very strong recovery because the stocks, for example, TCS, it was sub 1800 just 3-4 days back, and now it's on the verge of breaking that 1950 mark as well. So in the process of the last 3 days, it's bounced from the 200-day moving average, and now I believe the stock should try and maybe come back towards that 50 DMA. As of now, the 50 DMA is at around 2000-2005 levels, but I believe over the next couple of days, if the stock continues to move up higher, it should try and come back to that 2000 psychological mark. So I think from a short-term trading perspective, it's a good bet even at current levels.
Okay, so the stock could once again perhaps reclaim that 2000 rupee mark. Let's see how it fares. Currently, IDBI Bank and a development over there with respect to LIC.
That's right. The Competition Commission of India has approved LIC buying out 51% equity stake in the bank. This is of course on back of pretty much expected lines. But yeah, this nod for this merger, for this buyout has been long pending, and that's an important update regarding the deal between the two companies. Do remember in August the government had given its nod for LIC's proposed purchase of 51% in the bank. Last month, LIC announced an open offer to buy 26% stake from shareholders of the bank, and the open offer will commence from 3rd December onwards. So clearly in line with all of these developments that happen and will be happening over the next couple of months, this nod from CCI is clearly critical.
Okay, there you have it. That's IDBI Bank, 0.25% lower, but as we speak. GSK Consumer, that's going to be a stock that's going to be in the news all week. Remember, there is that deal to sell its consumer nutrition business in India. We had lots of players lining up. Nestle, Unilever, Coca-Cola. Of course, Coca-Cola's interest cooled off a tad bit later. But this deal is going to be announced soon from what reports suggest. It looks like it's Nestle who's going to grab Horlicks, the brand, and of course even the other smaller brands like Boost and Maltose. But of course we don't know the details yet. The talk is also that the 72.5% stake that GSK Consumer PLC owns in GSK Consumer Healthcare may as well be up for grabs. It's a $4 billion sale that we are looking at. Let's see what the final contours are of the deal. For now, 1.5% higher for GSK Consumer. Let's take a look at Interglobe Aviation then, and Kunal, certainly that drop in crude prices seems to have really sparked off a rally of sorts in Indigo of late. Today, however, it's quiet.
Absolutely, Mubina, and it's a recovery of a different level altogether, because from sub 700 levels, with the stock was trading at 2 months back below its averages, below its short-term as well as medium-term averages, indicators negative. It's made a very good comeback. Now, in that process from 700 to now 1000 plus levels, we've seen a rally, and now we are witnessing a phase of consolidation. Generally, when you see a consolidation after a steep rally, it should be taken with a positive bias. But I believe a better strategy for Indigo should be to try and buy the stock on dips at current levels and maybe towards 970 mark, and place a target closer to 1100 plus levels on the stock.
Okay, so that's an Indigo for you. Gaurav, let's move on and talk about L&T Finance. After this one saw that dip from the recent August highs, for the last 1 month, it's mostly traded sideways. Today, however, we are seeing a 3% uptick. So what's your view? Oops, unfortunately, the line with Gaurav has been disconnected, but I'm just going to read out what his strategy is. He's asking traders to keep a target of 150 rupees. The stock is currently at 135 rupees. That, of course, is Gaurav's view. Let's talk about Dredging Corporation meantime, which has seen quite an uptick today in trade. This after the company yesterday announced and gave out a release on exchanges saying that the government, the Ministry of Shipping rather, has informed the company that the Government of India, the Cabinet, has actually given the approval to the company to divest of 100% of the government stake in the company. This will be to a consortium of 4 ports. The 4 ports, of course, that we are talking about are the likes of Visakhapatnam Port Trust, Paradeep Port Trust, Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust and Kandia Port Trust. Visakhapatnam would be the one that would lead the consortium. Remember, the Government of India holds 73.5% of the paid-up share capital in Dredging Corporation. Next up, we have Indoco Remedies, a big news maker. It's been a buzz from the end of last week. Today, Karanya, what's the news?
Well, there's some positive news which is clearly not reflecting in the stock price. But let me just, for the benefit of our viewers, talk about the latest development. They've got a US FDA nod for a drug called glympyride. It's basically an oral anti-diabetic which is used to lower the blood sugar levels in a patient. So they've got a nod from the US regulator for this. And do remember, Indoco is the 11th player to get an approval for the same.
The stock price, however, is continuing to decline after that massive 30% rally that we witnessed on Thursday and Monday's session. But yes, it's a US FDA note that's coming. Avan, over to you then. DHFL, looks like more reports are emerging about a Yes Bank sort of transaction that has been conducted here.
Absolutely, that's exactly what the news reports seem to indicate, that mutual funds are said to have lent to the promoters of DHFL. In fact, we understand that the stock as well, it's trading below all of its key daily moving averages and in fact is in the red for the 4th straight day on the trot. It's been a fairly volatile mover of late. That's the latest that we're picking up with respect to DHFL. In fact, the open interest is up about 14.3%. Volumes as well are fairly active and down nearly 6%.
That's DHFL for you, declining about close to 6%. Gaurav, you know, we were talking about Interglobe Aviation. Jet Airways too, like that stock, has seen quite an uptick come by on account of the crude price fall. And in fact, right now as well, we've seen a sudden spike on an intraday basis. What's your view here?
Yeah, definitely. Jet Airways has already recovered significantly from the October low of 162. In fact, it has doubled from that level. And I think the overall trend continues to be positive. Yes, there is possibility of a consolidation from near-term perspective. Consolidation can take place in the range of 300 to 340. That's a broad range for the consolidation. Nevertheless, the overall outlook remains positive for this counter. And from short to medium-term perspective, I am expecting this counter to head towards 438.
Okay, so Gaurav's technical recommendation on Jet Airways, you just heard him out. Let's move on and talk about LIC Housing. Kunal, you have a bullish stance here. Why is that?
So interestingly, it's a bullish flag pattern, which is the case with a lot of the stocks, as of now, Mubina. But I believe LIC Housing is showing signs of breakout of this bullish flag pattern. Now, indicator front, there is a lot of positivity because in terms of price, the stock is consolidating. But in terms of indicators, most of the indicators or oscillators, RSI, MACD, even direction moving indexes, and I said they have given a breakout for LIC Housing. So I believe it's a matter of time that the price should also rise up higher and break this pattern of a bullish flag. Would recommend a buy with 500 as an immediate target and stop loss at 444.
And it's 0.9% at this point of time higher for an LIC Housing Finance. Moving on to the next stock, that's Atul Auto, that's rallying quite a bit along with JBM. These two companies have entered into an agreement for 3-wheeler electric autos. This will be to expand and develop this business. Remember that JBM, of course, is primarily engaged in the manufacturing of sheet metal components and fabrication. Atul Auto, of course, already does have a subsidiary called Atul Green Automotive Private Limited, and it's this subsidiary that's going to be engaged in the manufacture of 3-wheeler electric autos. The stock prices of both these companies have actually gone up quite a bit on the signing of this joint venture. So let's see how things progress on that business front. Currently, Reliance Industries, we have Reliance Capital rather, has had its Q2 numbers. What was the result like?
The results are actually pretty good, and that's exactly what you're witnessing even on the stock price. The market seems to be fairly enthusiastic, fairly satisfied with the performance given. Revenues were up 10%. They came in at 5,300 odd crore rupees. net profit reported by the company 280 crores versus a net loss of 163 crores. So they've clearly been able to turn around the profitability of the company. Their Reliance Nippon Asset Management's AUM was also up 6% at a little over 4 lakh crore rupees, and total assets at the end of Q2 stand at 90,128 crores. So looks like it is a good set of numbers, and that's why the stock is also looking fairly upbeat.
And yes, we are witnessing that uptick today in trade. It's more than 3% higher for Reliance Industries. Aman, RBL Bank, they had an investment meet. However, there's been a downgrade from Kotak.
Absolutely, there has. In fact, they've downgraded the stock from an add to a sell rating. They believe that the strong price performance leaves little room for upside and that the risk reward is very unfavorable. Not just that, you also had the management meet takeaways where Mr. Rajiv Ahuja, the ED of the company, spoke a little bit about the company. They said that the momentum in credit card and microfinance business does remain strong. Margin improvement in the company will be driven by changing loan mix towards higher yielding loans, and there is a re-intimidation of credit from the bond markets that will drive credit growth for the overall banking system going forward. He believes that RBL Bank is very much on track to achieve a 35% plus CAGR over FY 18 to 20. But yes, the Kotak view seems to be weighing down on the stock.
And it's 3.5% lower for an RBL Bank. Stock number 15, Apollo Tyres. Kunal, this one has been in the news on account of the fall in rubber prices, on account of the fall in some of its key raw materials like butadiene and styrene prices. Today, the stock continues to be higher.
Absolutely, and after a lot of time, I'm sensing that the stock is giving a breakout on the daily chart. So it was consolidating. There were whipsaw moves which the stock witnessed in this consolidation, but it failed to break its 50 DMA and closed below it substantially, and now the stock has confirmed a breakout on the upside. So I believe that all of these indicates that the stock is restarting a new uptrend. Even at current levels, I would recommend a buy. 248 to 250 could be a near-term target range for Apollo Tyres, and stop loss at 228.
Okay, so Kunal is bullish on Apollo Tyres. 236 is where it's perched at. We'll take a breather right here on Market Fatafat, but stay tuned. We'll continue the countdown when we return. You're watching Market Fatafat, where we are highlighting the top stocks that you should watch out for and which are the movers and shakers. Let's continue with the countdown. Stock number 16 is Bata India. Gaurav, you believe there's a fresh rally that we are seeing in the stock price?
Bata shows a 5-wave advance on the daily chart, and the same has been retraced by nearly 50% in a form of 3-wave correction, and from that level it has started a fresh move on the upside. When the daily lower Bollinger Band supported the counter near the correction mark, so here on I'm expecting a fresh move on the upside, which will be another 5-wave advance in terms of ingot wave structure. So I'm expecting this stock to test its weekly upper Bollinger Band, which is placed near 1100. So 1100 will be the target over the next couple of months.
Okay, that's of course Bata India for you. It's about 1.5% higher today in trade. Let's talk about Lupin then, which did see quite a violent move in the pre-open session. However, subsequently it settled with gains of about 0.5%. The news here being that Mr. Swaminathan, who was the CFO of the company, Ramesh Swaminathan, has put in his papers. He is resigned from the post with effect from the end of December. Remember that Ramesh Swaminathan was with Lupin for close to 12 years, instrumental in helping the company's sales grow significantly over the last 12 odd years. But he has now decided to pursue other responsibilities outside the pharmaceutical industry. They've not yet announced a replacement for his role, but for now, Lupin is higher by about 0.5%. Karanya Arvind, of course, is in news. The demerger has taken effect, and we have seen the stock decline significantly.
Yes, in fact, right now it has still stabilized a fair bit. There was a sharp over 13% drop just when it got listed at a price point of 109.5 rupees after demerger. This is, and this now only consists of the textile business, the core business, which the company now wants to focus on in a big way. In fact, there was a note also from Edelweiss last evening which stated the fact that up until now the company had put in a lot of energies towards boosting their branded retail and apparel business, but now that the demerger is happening, they're fairly bullish that finally the textile business will get all the focus and all the capex that it really needs. But market continues to be fairly suspicious, fairly cautious about the same happening anytime soon, and hence the fall in the price continues.
All right, that's Arvind Limited for you. Post demerger, it's been a 13% decline witnessed after it opened at 9:45 today in trade. Let's talk about Ashok Leyland and Navan. We're seeing a very negative note coming from Citi.
Well, absolutely. You know, if you just take a little back as well, if you look at the kind of auto sales numbers, the festive auto sales numbers didn't really see too much of a spark for a lot of these companies. Now, Citi has come out with their note, and they're definitely sounding off quite a bit of caution, which is pretty much in tandem with a lot of the other market experts and brokerages on the street. They believe that Ashok Leyland is a sell recommendation, and they've got a target price at 100 rupees on the share. They believe that the entire CV cycle is, in a bit of jeopardy. The freight rate uptick has not kept pace with the fuel prices, and that the toll road collection indicates that there will be sequential deceleration. So a sell call coming in on Ashok Leyland from the House of Citi.
Okay, the stock price, however, is just about flattish right now in trade. Gaurav, Kaveri Seeds, it's a stock we don't talk about very often on Market Fatafat. Today it's showing an uptick of 1.8%.
Yeah, definitely. Kaveri Seeds has formed a triangular pattern on the Delhi chart, and the pattern has been formed near the psychological mark of 500. So it has formed near a crucial support zone, and the pattern has broken out on the upside today. So the breakout is likely to sustain in the higher territory. Even the daily momentum indicator is starting a new cycle on the upside from the equilibrium line. So I'm expecting this stock to attempt a deep retracement of the previous fall. So on the upside, from short-term perspective, 565 will be the crucial target to watch out for.
It's 1.8% higher for Kaveri Seeds. Media as a pack today is a buzz. It's more than 1% higher for the sector in general. Kunal, you're flagging of Zee Entertainment.
So yes, I think the stock is now showing a continuation move. So if you remember, I think last week odd, the stock had rallied on the back of some strong news. Volumes were extremely high. The stock did not see a follow through after that, but then gradually you're seeing a consistent buying which is happening. So volumes after that single day of strong price volatile up move has increased for Zee, and the stock is gradually inching up higher. That in effect is a very positive sign to take away for the stock price, and I believe it should head towards 500 mark. That should be the near-term target for the stock. Stop loss could be kept at 450.
3.2% higher for Zee Entertainment today in trade. Let's talk about Piramal Enterprises. Remember, yesterday the stock price took quite a beating. Today, however, there's been an interesting recovery that's come by. 2093 is where the stock is trading. Do remember, there's been a massive fall in Lodha's overseas bonds, and that is something that spooked investors in Piramal Enterprises because the company's subsidiary, Piramal Home Finance, had actually lent to Lodha. So, on account of the massive decline in the bond prices, it is something that did spook investors about whether Piramal would receive its money back from Lodha, and that's perhaps the reason why you witnessed the stock today. However, there's been a significant recovery. Karnia, Orient Electric is in the news. They've announced a partnership.
They've in fact tied up a strategic partnership with an Italian-based company which is called the DeLonghi Group. It basically entails the foray of 3 separate brands in India. One would be DeLonghi, one would be Kenwood, and the third one will be Braun. Through this partnership, these 3 brands are planning to foray into India, the small appliances market, and the company, which is Orient Electric, of course, will get exclusive rights to market and sell all of these 3 in the country.
So that's, of course, Orient Electric for you today in trade. Take a look at what Dena Bank is doing. Do remember that PSU banking names as well are in focus when you look at sectoral gainers and losers. PSU banks are right there among the top gainers. Dena Bank specifically, I want to talk about that because that one, along with a couple of other small names, have actually put their NPAs on sale. Dena Bank specifically has put about 3,324 crore rupees of NPAs on sale, and it's all set, remember, to be amalgamated with larger banks like BOB as well as Vijaya Bank by the end of the current financial year. Of course, It's under PCA, so that's something we should watch out for. Okay, let's move on and talk about Infosys meantime. And Kunal, along with TCS, you're also flagging off this IT major. What is it that you're witnessing?
So I think, again, a similar sort of a chart move, because the stock has recovered almost, 8 to 10% in the last 3 days. There was this bullish hammer pattern which was formed in the last 2 days, and the stock has, rallied quite strongly after that bullish pattern. Now it's, taking support at that 200 moving average, which I believe could be a good, buying point again for anyone who's looking to buy the stock on dips. Stock is at 655 plus levels, but I believe at 640, it's a very good bet, for a target of at least 700 approximately for Infosys.
IT certainly doing very well today in trade. Meantime, Gaurav, JSW Steel has been taking a hammering the last couple of days. What's your outlook here?
So definitely, JSW Steel is clearly in a downtrend from short-term as well as medium-term perspective. It is forming lower top, lower bottom on the daily as well as weekly chart, which is a bearish sign as per the Dow theory. When the momentum indicators on various time frames are in line with the fall. So from short-term perspective, I am expecting the stock to test its July low, which was around 293, and that will decide further course of action from medium-term perspective.
Okay, 0.5% lower, but unfortunately we're completely out of time in this edition of the show. Gaurav, thanks so much for joining in on ET. Now to all of you as well for giving in your inputs on the big buzzers in trade. It's a goodbye from all of us right here on the show. Stay tuned. We have Markets at Noon coming up next.